Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Carl from Carl's Opinion. Had a short little work vacation. To it, I was working and gonna be here. But anyway, that happens. So hey, just want to say thanks and happy to be here. And to all those who are watching now and will be watching later, thank you so much. And we got a lot of news to cover, so we'll get to it right now. And some interesting stories. Let's check this one out. That's one thing I still haven't figured out how to get rid of is that little dink-a-dink-a-dink when I change over to different computers. I went on Windows, looked up USB, how to take out notifications when you switch over, and did it, and still hasn't worked. But anyway, there you go. So, let's get here. All right, here we go. CNN's trumpeted town halls turn into ratings catastrophe. Gee, I wonder why. All right, let's take a look. All right. CNN is on a town hall tear, offering viewers session after session with the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates topped off with a town hall assembly line Monday night that saw 5 would-be presidents featured in a primetime row. It has been a ratings catastrophe. While some high-profile candidates, such as Bernie Sanders, provided a slight boost in February, other candidates have sent the network's numbers tumbling. Up, see Nunya's business in there. Hey, Nunya, let me just give you a little shout-out real quick. Hey, Nunya. There we go. And Tara. There you go. Oh. So, while some high-profile candidates, such as Bernie Sanders, provided a slight boost in February, other candidates have sent the network's numbers tumbling. Former Washington Governor Jay Inslee's turn this month cost nearly 40% of viewers compared to the same slot on another week. The 2020 race may be all-consuming for inside the Beltway ties, but for most Americans, it's just not that captivating. Okay. Let's see. It's just too far away, said Eddie Fielding, a businessman and former elected official outside New Orleans. Mr. Fielding, 70, and his wife Becky were among dozens of patrons fanned out Monday night among walls of televisions at Walk-Ons, a popular southern bistro and bar. Both of them were aware cable news had put town halls in heavy rotation. Both the Fielding's knowledge and minimal interest were mirrored by most people there as the Democratic candidates rolled on through the night. I think that's partly true, said Chris Dalton, a 55-year-old Alabamian, when asked if the lack of interest had to do with timing. I think it also has something to do with who the candidates are, and I don't want to spend hours listening to any of the ones on tonight. Mr. Dalton said he had listened on satellite radio to Mr. Sanders' recent town hall on Fox, but hadn't watched any of them. Nor had David Robertson, 28, who said he considered himself reasonably engaged but overwhelmed by the lengthy lineup of Democrats. I like to review the positions of some candidates, and I will do that next year when deciding who to vote for, Mr. Robertson said, but I'm not going to do that now when there are 20 of them. CNN spent considerable time and effort promoting Monday's town halls as if it were blockbuster programming. The network is also airing promos in the same hard-hitting style it has used before, complete with an overexcited announcer using each candidate's last name and mentioning they will face off on the same stage and back-to-back, as if the whole event is a wrestling match, Newscast Studio, a trade site, noted Monday. Despite the big promotion, Monday's ratings fell flat. The 5 hours of town halls placed no higher than 16th for the night's cable programs, with 1.2 million viewers overall in the 25 to 54 age bracket. Both Fox News, with 2.3 million viewers, and MSNBC, with 1.8 million, fared better. CNN's 10 p.m. town hall with California Senator Kamala Harris brought in the most viewers, with 1.4 million. Clearly, the calendar isn't working in the politicians' favor. The first presidential Democratic debates are 2 months out. The first votes won't be cast for at least 8 more months. The general election itself is more than 18 months away, and the country is less than 6 months removed from the exhausting midterm contests. Even some of the professionals see the timing is tough. It is very early, and the vast majority of voters are not yet worried about choosing their presidential candidate for 2020, said David Greenberg. Well, of course not. Why would they be? I mean, enough's enough already. I mean, it's kind of tough. But, let's see here. Boom. Anyway, but, that's the problem. You got we had a lot of candidates in 2016, don't get me wrong, for the primaries. But the difference was they all seemed pretty intelligent. Even the ones you didn't like, you said, well, at least the guy's intelligent. At least the guy, knows the issues, knows what he's talking about. And none of them were talking anything crazy. These people are just trying to out crazy each other. Who came up with the craziest slogan? I mean, I know you guys saw this, but, they're all competing with each other to see, which one could line up with having more prisoners, vote. And then in some parishes, if they're like 1/3 of the population, like in Louisiana, where the prison there, I can't remember the name of the prison in Louisiana, but it's in a small town, and something like 5,000 of the 15,000 people that live there are inmates. So imagine they all get the right to vote. They're choosing mayor, councilman, county commissioner. You think that won't be fraught with corruption? I mean, you got gangs in prison. You don't think a politician would kind of side with one of the gangs and say, hey, I want you to get everybody in here to vote for me? Of course. And then, these guys run the prisons. You're going to have to vote the way they tell you to vote. This guy throw a few bucks their way. I mean, these are felons. These are criminals. I mean, they're definitely subject to being corrupted and paid off. So, I mean, the idea is just ridiculous. But let's see here. Let's see. Oh, hey. But we're a live call-in show tonight, so if you want to call in or appear by VMix video call, you can send me an email to that email address. Let's see, did I have it up there? Let's see. Let's see if I have it here. Video call-in show. Let's see if I can find you a address here with the. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, that one didn't cut over. Oh, I know. Here we go. There we go. That's it. All right, so if you want to appear by VMix video call, send me an email to ca2jogger@gmail.com. And if you want to call in, the phone number is 775-273-8970. Again, that's 775-273-8970. It's I obviously, same as usual, I have some topics I want to discuss, some news stories I want to discuss, but it's open topic. You call in, it broadens the conversation. Anything you want to talk about, that's fine. Not a problem. So anyway, let's get to the next story I'm looking to cover, but if everybody does want to call in or send me an email, just go right ahead. Won't be a problem. Let's see here. All right. There we go. All right, let's get to the next story here. Let's see. All right. This is a pretty disgusting story. Let's going to cover this. Smugglers abandoned 3-year-old illegal immigrant in Texas. Okay, make sure I have this up high enough. Okay, let's see. Boom. All right. Is that, Pan? Yeah, that's my dog. That was Cartman, the German Shepherd dog. Passed away December 7th, 2016. Great dog. My son loved him very much. Great dog. But anyway, let's get back to the story. Smugglers abandoned 3-year-old illegal immigrant in Texas. Gee, what a shocker. This kind of thing happens all the time, actually. I'm surprised we get this one story on it, though. Who was that? Yeah. Yeah. But, Nine is right. Yeah, he passed away. But anyway, so yeah, this kind of story about smugglers abandoning 3-year-old illegal immigrants, this kind of thing happens. A lot. You just don't get any coverage on it because the mainstream media doesn't want to paint that narrative. They don't want the narrative that goes out there that says, illegal immigration is dangerous for the migrants that are illegally crossing. It just doesn't hurt our country, but, it hurts them. These people are willing to risk their lives, but if they knew they couldn't get across the border, they wouldn't come over here risking their lives. They'd probably stay home where it's safer and try to make their lives and their country a better place. That takes some work. Don't get me wrong. That's not easy to do. Excuse me, but it can be done. If, again, I've said it before, 5 million people march on Mexico City demanding the government make changes and reforms, get rid of the corruption, and go into a free market style economy. They don't have to look very far to see how that works. Just look, depending where you live in Mexico, a few hundred miles north, and you can see how our free market economy actually works. And say, look, why do we keep leaving here? Well, first of all, Mexico's pretty beautiful place as far as the countryside, the beaches and mountains and stuff. It's like, why would you want to leave? If you could stay there and have a nice job and a nice house and be some safety and security, you'd stay. But they have to come because, well, the government sucks. And anytime people start bitching and moaning too much and demanding the government to make changes, the government says, oh, just go up north. If you're not happy here, just go. Like love it or leave it. Go to America. Kind of like in the 60s when we, older people were telling the younger people who were protesting, hey, love it or leave it. You don't like it, go to Canada, go to China, go to Russia. Well, the Mexican government does the same thing with their people. They just say, hey, you don't like it, go to America. Well, unlike saying go to China, go to Russia, it's kind of nasty places. Saying go to America, well, people are like, well, yeah, it's a really nice place. They got roads. I mean, if you've ever driven through Mexico, you know what I'm talking about. If you get off the main highway, you go into the cities, the towns rather, like along the peninsula. What's that? On the way to Baja. You drive off that 2-lane highway. It's only a 2-lane highway. It's not very wide. If you drive off of that, you go into like the towns that go along that highway. It's all dirt roads. I mean, it's all dirt. I mean, it's just dust flying everywhere. It's terrible. And up here we have roads and bridges and water and sewers and electricity that's on all the time. As long as you pay your bill. That kind of stuff. You have good school systems. I mean, look, I don't like them either, but they're compared to everywhere else, pretty damn good. So, that's why the government never changes, because they don't have to. Nobody ever demands it of them. Excuse me. Yeah, nobody ever demands it of them, because when they start demanding it, they just say, well, here's a few bucks. Here's just head north. Go over there, and people do. So, and this, unfortunately, this story here, this kind of happens a lot. So let's take a look at it. Sure. By Stephen Dinan of the Washington Times. A group of illegal immigrants abandoned a 3-year-old boy in a Texas cornfield, Border Patrol said Wednesday, leaving the child to fend for himself as the other migrants tried to escape arrest. Oh, that's nice. Wow. Left one of their own behind. Okay. Agents spotted the group early Tuesday morning near Brownsville. See, this also goes to the whole point when people say, oh, we're traveling with family members. Well, if this was somebody's son, if that was really somebody's son, I don't know, maybe we're going to get down to where it is somebody's son. But, but these immigrants, illegal immigrants know, if they come across with a kid and say, oh, it's my son, well, this kid's 3. What's he going to say? No, that's not my mom. I mean, he's 3. So you kidnap somebody's kid right off the street. If you kidnap him that day, the day you're splitting, it's hard to find you. So you take some kid, you run for the border, and of course the Mexican authorities aren't going to report this, make it public that people are kidnapping other people's kids, because then that goes against the whole narrative again. So you grab somebody's kid, kidnap him, run for the border, make it across, but if this was somebody's child, they would have never left some kid in a cornfield. No way. They would have stayed behind with the kid. They definitely would have left him there, or something. But they just said, well, we don't need him anymore. We got to get away. So they leave him behind. Agents spotted the group early Tuesday morning near Brownsville, but when they moved in for the arrest, the migrants scattered into the surrounding fields. During the ensuing search, agents discovered the toddler alone and crying. I mean, these guys all have families. These Border Patrol agents. I think about half of them are Hispanic also, and they must have been beside themselves. They said, it's like, Jesus, like who would leave a 3-year-old, behind like that? Oh, they never tracked down any of the parents, and the child didn't speak well enough to communicate. There you go. But agents said the boy did have a name and a phone number written on his shoes for identification, a common tactic for parents who send their children north on the dangerous journey. The boy was evaluated at a hospital and deemed in good condition. One Border Patrol agent bought clothes for the boy. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he bought them, like not brought them, but actually paid for them, bought. bought clothes for the boy, and Customs and Border Protection officers watched movies and played games with him to entertain him before he was processed and given to the care of contract social workers. Again, these guys all have families. You know, no, none of these guys are cruel or inhumane. Like the mainstream media wants to portray them. These people care, but they realize we have laws, and these laws have to be enforced, and we have to limit the number of people we allow in here. We just can't open the floodgates. We don't. This country can't handle it. It can't assimilate it fast enough. It can't have enough jobs available, enough. It can't educate people fast enough. Can't provide enough health care or housing fast enough. It just can't. That's why you try to have an orderly process, so you can kind of get the assimilation doesn't just mean assimilate into the culture. People always take it the wrong way. Assimilate means you have a place to go. Excuse me. There's a job for you. You can get some education. There's enough health care in the area for your kid to be able to get some health care. Enough doctors, nurses, facilities. There's enough housing in the area so not living on the street. And again, there's jobs, so you're not getting to mischief and mayhem, and and then having to sell drugs or commit crimes to be able to get by, and that kind of stuff. And you just can't let them in. I mean, if they're letting 1,000 migrant family members a day go, that's 365,000 a year, plus 1 million a year we allow legally in from different countries, plus the numbers that get across without getting caught. I mean, that's a hell of a number. Well, we can't handle that number. So, these guys, they have a tough job down there. And then, of course, they get spit on, they get called all kinds of names. It's like when our troops are coming back from Nam, it sounds like. Getting blamed for a war they didn't start, for a war that they didn't ask to go to. Most of the guys were drafted. Same thing here. I mean, now these guys volunteer for this. Well, they're law enforcement. They want a job in law enforcement, and they sign up for this. They have to go through a pretty rigorous, according to Amy D, pretty rigorous academy, like a year or something like that, year-long academy. So this ain't something easy. This is something they really work hard to do. But you can tell, like this guy actually paid to buy some clothes for this kid, and these kids were, these Border Patrol agents were sitting with the kid and everything like that. But obviously, this kid, I mean, I can't believe that any of their parents just left him behind in the cornfield. I mean, yeah, they knew if they were the parents there, they probably knew Border Patrol would find him, but maybe not. And if those are the kind of parents that leave the kid behind in a cornfield, hoping that somebody else finds him, well, they suck. Okay, pure and simple. So I hope, in a way, those weren't any of their parents in that group. And then part of me, wishes they were, because if those weren't, if none of those people there were the parents, those parents back in Mexico must be, or Honduras, or Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, etc. It must be, worried to death. And of course, they won't publicize that from those countries, that a lot of kids are being kidnapped, because they don't want that narrative being told. They don't want the narrative being told that these are really phony families. Why? Because these governments, again, want their people out of their country, because they can't house them, provide shelter for them, provide health care, provide jobs, provide good wage, provide safety and security. So instead of these government officials having to work hard to accomplish this thing and maybe change from socialism to capitalism to a free market economy, it's just easier as just go up north. And there's a whole big black market as far as fake IDs, fake not citizenship, birth certificates. There we go. Fake birth certificates, and I'm sure there are government people who have some of their hands in that, not just to make money, but to actually help facilitate getting these people out of their own country. Again, you just kind of let the release valve go. You just whoosh, the relief is here. They're gone, and you don't have to deal with them anymore. Be like in our country, of like say, depending on which party was in power, like say, when President Obama was in power, these Republicans, bitching and moaning about this, that, and the other, right? And we're like, hey, we don't like this. And he goes, hey, Canada's like right there, man, and we can get you in, and you just got to go across that border, and we'll make it easy for you over here. We'll fake, birth certificates and stuff, which maybe he knows something about. It's a joke. But anyway, so we'll get you across, so then like everybody who's complaining about how he's running the country leaves, and then he can just keep being stupid. Same thing, like say Trump, like all the Democrats are complaining. This would actually be a good idea. He said, well, why don't you go to Mexico? We'll help you get there. They won't go, but nonetheless, then you don't have to address their issues. You could just address, hours. So that's kind of what these countries down there. So they've given so there are already 30 million illegals here. Yeah, I know that number from Princeton. I think they said 22, and I think even when they wrote that, they put some caveats in there as well, Karen, saying that we think it might be more. Considering the number's always been 11. I've heard 11 now for like 10 years. 11 million, 11 million, 11 million. It's like nobody ever gives birth, which is hilarious. So, right, then Princeton went and did the report. I want to say it was Princeton, one of the Ivy League schools, and they came up, and of course, none of these schools are like bastions of conservatism either. They're not right-wing universities on these schools. So, they came up and said, nah, it's actually more like 22 million, and we might be cutting it short. So, yeah, 30, that's probably about right. Everything about 10% of the population that's illegal, and it seems like nobody seems to have a problem with that. Kind of crazy. So you got just these people who were just thumbing the nose of the law, and again, that's the other problem. It's like part of assimilation is you're coming to another country, you want to learn its customs, its laws. You kind of want to work into that. You want to learn that, not just learn, but you want to respect it. Well, the very first act you take when you come across the border is to break the law. You obviously are not You're probably not that capable of being assimilated because you don't respect the laws to begin with. You just broke one. Literally, as soon as you cross that line, you already broke the law. And if you got away with it, well, that teaches you a lesson. Well, it's not a crime. The lesson they learn is, well, it's not really a crime unless you get caught. And they take that with them. And so then when they have to, steal somebody else's identity, someone's social security number, someone else's, tax ID number, whatever. Well, why not? We're here. Why, what are we supposed to do? They'll rationalize it some way. What are we supposed to do? And then when you're, working under the table and, not paying taxes, that kind of stuff, they'll rationalize that too. So, it's sad, but it's true. And that's what happens. Hey, I see Christiana there. Hey, Christiana, how you doing? All right, so let's take a look here. What else we were covering? All right. Oh wait, let's finish this story. I'm kind of curious to how it ends. Oh, that's how it ends, right there. Well, okay. I thought there was some kind of follow up there. They did. All right. Okay. All right. Jeff Sessions, even him, says it's time to move past the Mueller report and get on with the business of America. Let's see what Jeff has to say. All right. Massachusetts. Former Attorney General Jeff Sessions says it is time to move past Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russian investigation and get on with the business of America. Sessions urged confidence in the system during a lecture at Amherst College, a private liberal arts school in western Massachusetts. All right. Let's see. The process was followed and the decision has now been rendered. I think it deserves respect, he said. I think it's about time to accept the results and let's get on with the business of America. President Donald Trump's former Attorney General said that Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in U.S. elections was carried out vigorously and with integrity. He said Congress does have oversight power, but he believes it is time to accept that. Mueller declined to recommend criminal charges against the president. Some Democrats have called for impeachment proceedings against Trump in light of the report that left open whether the president broke the law. The event in a campus chapel was hosted by Amherst College Republicans, and it was interrupted by demonstrators who stood up in the front rows and walked out soon after Sessions began speaking. Sessions said the protest was not nearly as disruptive as one he faced last week at a university in Minnesota. Campus free speech was a theme of his talk, and the former U.S. Senator from Alabama said the disrespect he faced as a young Republican at Huntington College in Alabama pales in comparison to what young conservatives face at college today. My impression is college Republicans nationwide are having a harder time today, facing more hostility. Where are we? Even bullying, he said, prompting laughter from some students. One student asked Sessions afterward if he was contributing to polarization by suggesting in his remarks that the faculty at Amherst is overwhelmingly liberal. In response, Sessions said, it's hard to polarize a college that's pretty one-sided. Sessions said he also stood by his decision to recuse himself from the Russian investigation. As somebody who had been involved in the Trump campaign and was a potential witness in the investigation, he said it did not make sense for him to remain in authority over the investigation. And he goes on to say, I have the greatest confidence in the integrity of our system. Now, there you go. So, all right, so the phone lines are open, 775-273-8970. Let's see here. Here's a good story. You know, I thought this lady was going to be the sane one in the Democratic Party. Boy, was I wrong on that one. All right. I really did. I swear. I figured, okay, former prosecutor, former DA, former attorney general. Okay, I didn't realize she slept her way to the top, and she actually wasn't very bright. Sorry, I kind of missed that one. Yeah, I guess the Wikipedia site I looked on her kind of left out the whole sleeping with Willie Brown, the former Speaker of the California Assembly, in order to get her first elected position as DA, and then to go on to get Attorney General. I guess, yeah, Wikipedia kind of left that part out when I read it. So let's see. Kamala Harris wants former drug dealers first in line to profit off legal marijuana. Yes, this makes sense. These are people that can be trusted with a highly regulated business. Of course, they're not going to cut corners. They're not going to see. What could they do? Well, you have a grow facility, right? And you're allowed a certain number of plants, and you have to keep an inventory of those plants. But then when you sell them, you have to sell them for a certain price. It's all regulated. The fees are collected, everything else. You think maybe some of these people might try to take some of these plants, some of these seeds, and some of the equipment, because remember, this equipment breaks down, supposedly, and you take it over to your house, and then you start using it there. You don't think that could happen? I wonder. But anyway, let's have former drug dealers, former felons, be the first in line to profit off legal marijuana. Let's see what she has to say. Senator Kamala Harris said Wednesday that if elected president, she would clear the way for people convicted of dealing drugs to get jobs in the lucrative legal marijuana industry. Yes. Ms. Harris, a former California Attorney General, said it was ironic that former drug dealers with felony convictions are sometimes barred from marijuana jobs. They were ahead of the curve, she said with a laugh. Wow. At a candidate forum in Houston hosted by She the People, a national network of advocacy groups led by women of color. She advocated for a background check system to determine if a convicted drug dealer deserves to be first in line for cannabis jobs. Their felony conviction should not be the barrier to them having employment in an industry that they were a part of before it was an industry, she said. Ms. Harris is among 19 hopefuls seeking the Democratic presidential nomination and is vying among the top-tier candidates. People convicted of dealing marijuana are prohibited right now from working in growing and selling of marijuana in many of the states such as Colorado and California that have legalized recreational use of cannabis. Apparently, a lot of the people who historically were arrested for marijuana sales, mind you, sales, okay, not use, sales, were young men of color. Well, who's to blame for that? Ms. Harris said, isn't that the irony of it all? This is one of the fastest growing money-making industries in our country, and the very young men who were trying to make money doing the same thing got criminalized and now have been branded felons for life and are excluded from the economic opportunities that are now available because of this new industry. I got to read that again. This is one of the fastest growing money-making industries in our country, and the very young men who were trying to make money doing the same thing got criminalized. No, it was against the law. They didn't this woman even stay awake during law school? I don't get it. Let's see. So, was she sleeping with the professors in law school? That's how she knew how to sleep with Willie Brown to get where she was going? They didn't get criminalized. It was a crime. She should know. She prosecuted a lot of people for this crime. This is why she's talking all this, to cover that up, because she loses a lot of street credit in the black community right now because of that. She was busting people for small amounts of marijuana and being very hard on them, to get away up to the top. But now she's at the top. Now she wants to run. She needs a black vote in the South, and so now she says, "Oh, and here's the stereotype." I guess she's saying a lot of black people smoke pot. So in order to get the black vote, you need to be pro-pot. But no, they didn't get criminalized. It was a crime. They knew it was a crime, and they decided to break the law. They got criminalized. Yes, that's like a guy went out and murdered somebody, and he got criminalized for murdering somebody. No, it was a crime. The crime was called murder. Okay, here it was called distribution or trafficking or sales or whatever your state calls it. It was a crime first, and then they did it. What an idiot. Man. And she's like one of the top tier candidates right now. Even if Biden gets in, she'll be near the top. It'll probably be Biden, Sanders, and her. Buttigieg, I don't think he's... I mean, people have a hard time when a young kid... It's different like an old guy says, when they start writing the whole Make America Great Again thing, they start saying, well, it was never great. It was never that great to begin with. Well, if you're 70, like Joe Biden, he can say, well, I was there, I can say that. But this kid's like 35 or 37 or whatever. He wasn't around. He was born in the 80s. What does he know? So he's going to tell us, like, who are older, how good or bad it was before he was even born. Like he read it in a book or something. So how does he know? So, again, I caught that in his speech, and I don't know what kind of staff he has or doesn't have. But my guess is maybe they're all young people. I don't know. But, young people don't vote like old people vote. And, you got to be really careful when you tell old people how things were, if you weren't part of how things were. If you weren't even a thought in your parents' head at the time you're talking about the things from the 60s, the 50s. Well, come on. The guy wasn't born for another 20, 30 years respectively. And he's going to start telling people how it was back then. Telling people who lived through it how it was back then, how bad it was or not good. I think honestly, you're looking at Biden's supposed to get in tomorrow, but I was watching Sticks and Hammer. I think he said something might be delaying that rollout. Well, good for him as far as staying out of this mess right now. I mean, hopefully he's watching all these issues pop up all over the place with the Democrats, and hopefully he's watching the reaction by Middle America. No, it's funny. I was watching Tucker last night, and he had Julian Epstein on. He's a Democratic operative, used to work in the House, and he was saying, well, no, the American people are not for this. The American people are not for this, and I think you can see the Democrats move off a lot of these positions. Talking about the Green New Deal, reparations, whatever other crazy stuff they're talking about. And he says, you'll see them move off that. But I even Tucker didn't quite pick up on this. I think they were both wrong. The primaries aren't about the American voter. The Democratic primary is about Democratic primary voters. It's a little bit different. And these people are far left. And they want answers. They want impeachment. They want Green New Deal. They want reparations. They want, who knows what else. They want Medicare for all. They want open borders. And that's who's voting in your primaries. Those are the people who are going to be showing up. Especially, they may not get as much excitement as they're thinking they're going to get out of this. I don't know. A lot of people are angry, but let's be honest. By the reason why they wanted to impeach Trump so quickly was because they knew if he got in there and things were looking really good, and people get used to things looking good, and things are starting to look pretty good. Like, wow, we're not at war. Wow, economy's doing pretty good. Gee, my neighbor Fred's got a job. He was gonna have to move, and his kids are able to stay in the same school with my kids, and and we're not hearing any big headlines about major disruptions around the world. People are back to work. People get used to that, and maybe they're not going to be as excited about the Democratic field. 2016 was different. It was open. It was open on both sides. So I mean, there was a lot of buzz because it was open on both sides. I mean, there wasn't as much buzz on the Democratic side because Clinton pretty much went in kind of mafia her way through the primary system before it even got started. One thing you can't take away from her is that she knows how to play inside politics. Not very good with the electorate. Unfortunately, those people in inside politics, except for super delegates, don't vote in the general election. In the primaries, you have these super delegates, and she was able to string a bunch of those along, get their support, do favors for them, one hand wash the other kind of stuff. But she wasn't very good at actually connecting with the American people. That's why people say, "Oh, how come she didn't campaign here? How come she didn't campaign there? How come she didn't go out here?" Well, she did it. Her staff couldn't send her to those places. They would have wanted to. One, she had these health issues, which were real, and two, the more people saw of her, the less they liked her. So their strategy was pretty much to kind of keep her. If she gave us speech and another speech, pretty much say the same thing over and over again. Figuring if you're going to piss off, the old saying is every time you give a speech, you piss off 10% of the people in the crowd. So you always want to keep the speech the same because you want to piss off these 10% with one speech, and then you go do a different speech and you piss off another 10%, and before you know it, you pissed off everybody. You know, it's just a question of how much did you actually piss them off, that kind of thing. But anyway, the phone lines are open, 775-273-8970. If you want to call, just go ahead and call on in, and we'll take your phone call. I'll even put the phone number in the chat. Look at this, 775-273-8970. Call. Dunk. There you go. Excuse me. All right, so let's take a look here. Let me cover another story. Let me bounce over here. All right, so let me find you another story here. You don't just watch these newspapers scroll up and down here. Let's see, cover another story. There's a few good stories today. I kind of scouted out for us here. All right. Trump orders staff to boycott annual White House Correspondents Association dinner. Well, to me, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it makes a whole bunch of sense, actually. So, that's my camera moving. All right. So, let's take a look here. All right. All right. Trump orders staff to boycott annual White House Correspondents Association dinner. If anybody remembers last year, what a disaster that was. It was when Kellyanne Conway and Sarah Huckabee Sanders went, and that one comedian just totally ripped on Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I mean, it was just disgusting. I mean, it was just a bad taste, totally uncouth, totally uncalled for. You know, woman's out there trying to do her job. She's got literally every day 60 screaming news reporters yelling at her, trying to pin her down. She's got a really tough job. And nobody ever treated press secretaries like that in the past. So Trump's saying, hey, look, you know what? Everybody boycott. I'm not going to send anybody, to be representative of the White House. You know what? Everybody boycott. Let's see how the ratings do again this year. After last year's ratings tank, let's see how they do this year, which is not going to be very good. So okay, let's take a look at this one. All right, David Boyer, Washington Times. President Trump has ordered his administration to boycott the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner, an event that Mr. Trump will skip for the third straight year. White House Cabinet Secretary Bill McKinley announced that all Trump administration officials are being ordered to boycott the dinner. The president and members of the administration will not attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner this year, a senior administration official said. Instead, Saturday evening, President Trump will travel to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where he will hold a campaign rally. Well, that's good. Actually, a good state to go to as well. Let's see here. Oliver Knox, president of the White House Correspondents Association, responded by saying, "We're looking forward to an enjoyable evening of celebrating the First Amendment and great journalists past, present, and future." At last year's dinner, comedian Michelle Wolf skewered White House Secretary Sarah Sanders, who was a guest of honor seated on the dais. Mr. Trump has broken with tradition by not attending the dinner, calling it boring. Oh, God. You just gotta love this guy. I swear, he's just so good. It's like, not saying like, no, I don't want my people to go because they're getting insulted. Just say, no, you know what? This is really boring. We're not gonna do this. This is really boring. So, there you go. I was so focused when your camera moved, I almost fell out of my chair. Ah! I'll do it again if it helps. Like, doosh. Anyway. But anyway, phone lines are open, 775-273-8970, open topic. If you want to appear by a vMix video phone call, just send me an email to ca2jogger@gmail.com, and we'll link you up when it sends out. And you can ask Disabled Vet. It's very simple to use. It's not hard at all. Just kind of just click on it, and there you are. So actually just one click, then type in a name, and then hit another click, and you're done. So, not hard. But anyway, let's see. Let's get to another story here. Let me get to it right here. All right. Oh, this is a follow-up story to one we covered a while back. It was Saturday night when we covered it. Mexican troops disarm U.S. soldier at border. Trump warns better not happen again. Oh, well, let's see what they have to say here. Let's see. All right, Mexican troops. We heard it. We talked about this Saturday. I think disabled. You called in, had some good points to make there and some good information to provide us. Remember that? So I didn't catch this follow up, so let's go and catch it. And let's see. This was from yesterday. 2 U.S. soldiers were confronted and one disarmed at gunpoint earlier this month by Mexican troops operating on the American side of the border. Military officials confirmed Wednesday. The April 13th incident near Clint, Texas, unfolded when Mexican soldiers apparently believed the U.S. troops who were inside an unmarked Customs and Border Protection truck had crossed into Mexican territory. The confrontation was first reported by Newsweek. A Mexican soldier reportedly took the service pistol from the hip of one of the American soldiers. President Trump blasted Mexico over the incident Wednesday and said that it's likely the Mexican troops were actually on the U.S. side of the border to protect illegal drug smugglers. Here we go. Mexico soldiers recently pulled guns on our National Guard soldiers, probably as a diversionary tactic for drug smugglers on the border, the president tweeted. Better not happen again. We are now sending armed soldiers to the border. There we go. Well, good. Yeah, that whole no gun shit. I mean, that kind of pissed me off. You know, like I said, we have Posse Comitatus laws. You know, we don't want the military, to engage in local law enforcement. That's kind of what the kings and queens of Europe did. You know, it's we fought a revolution so that, our U.S. Army couldn't be used against American citizens. But here, the idea, I mean, this reminds me of, I'm sure Disabled Vet remembers Beirut 1982, 1982, I want to say. And, when we sent the Marines in to, set up a encampment to protect the Palestinians to escape from Lebanon if the Israelis came up the coast to Beirut from Israel. And, they weren't allowed to have any magazines in their firearms. Got a phone call coming in. Here we go. Hey, Disabled Vet, you're on with Carl's Opinion. How you doing?
Hey, how are you, sir?
Very good. Very good. So what are you up to tonight?
That's probably a phase. You'll get over it. I did a little thing today about the medical program, and I don't know if you're talking about that much tonight, but I found
go ahead and tell me. I don't know anything about it really.
Well, I've got a personal issue. My daughter has just been potentially diagnosed with cancer, and we're still waiting to hear on that. But she went in for a emergency room visit, and they sent her to a specialist. And when she got to the specialist, she was told she owed a $2,200 bill, and she wouldn't be able to see him until that was paid. Well, we sent a massive bitch session to the hospital that said that to her, and then I got a call from them, and they said they don't ever turn anybody away. But it's happened to my wife, too, with me directly, where we went for seeing a specialist, and a period of time where we couldn't keep up with our bills very well. We had the same thing, a $2,000 bill. They didn't want to see my wife, but then when I went to billing, they said, well, if you get some kind of promise of payment, then we'll be able to see you. So I gave them $60, which was the last money I had for any foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
But then once I paid that, they said, okay, yeah, you can go see your specialist now.
Yeah.
So,
wait, this is at the VA?
No. This is actually at the Sacred Heart Hospital here in Pensacola.
Oh, okay.
So, it's just, if I told my daughter, I said, why don't you throw away your passport and your IDs and stuff and go on down to Texas and come back across? I said, because you might be able to get seen if you do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
The whole thing is, huh?
Well, I mean, it's really, I mean, stressful. I mean, dealing with the healthcare industry, and here are these illegals coming across, and they're getting all this great healthcare, and then like if somebody dies because they were sick when they got here, then of course it's like our fault, but yet
Right.
American citizens, they go to the hospital, they get jammed up and hassled and harassed, humiliated. You're right. Just dress up, dress down, I guess. Go to Texas.
Yeah.
Pretend like you just sneak over by the fence and like do like one of those like Lee Majors, Steve Austin, $6 million man thing, and like just pretend like you jump out over the fence and say, "Hey, I'm sick. Help me."
Well, it's like I told my daughter, I said, "You need to do that." She says, "Well, I don't speak Spanish." And I said, "Okay, well, just wave your hands back and forth and start saying, Orale, vacho, what's happening, And if you just keep saying that, then that'll probably work.
Yeah.
But it's spooky times. We finally got somebody that said that they will take care of it. And it took some world-class bitching by me and my mother. She jumped in there to help out. She used to work for Navy Relief, so she's used to taking on big companies and corporations that try to screw over the little people. But with some serious harassment, we've been able to get somebody that said that they'll help. But then they want 10 years of her records so that they can start this process. So my daughter went today to go get those records, and again, she deals with the same garbage. She gets in there, and they say, "Okay, well, this is fine. It might take us a week or so to get your records." And I told her, I said, "You know what? I'd have flipped the desk over on them, because all you got to do is push about 3 or 4 buttons on a damn computer, and you get your records. It's
Right.
not like they have to mail for them in West Texas or something."
No.
So
No,
the whole thing is just a game.
Yeah. No, they have even the girls who have the software, those little mobile things. Those are like $2 million software programs they have on there. I mean, it's all right there.
Right.
I mean, those programs
Right.
are super expensive, and that's $2 million for the cost of buying it, and then the licensing fees every year. I forgot what they were. It's probably, who knows what that is. It's minimum for each hospital, probably like $50,000 a year just to get relicensed to be able to use it and get tech support. So, I mean,
Right.
those are huge, powerful programs. So the idea that, well, we have to send away for it. Oh, that's nonsense. I mean, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
all.
what I did,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, actually did a video today kind of explaining some of this, where we talk about how the medical system, if we go socialist, it will bankrupt the system and all this other. But that's based on the price of medical that we pay now, which is inflated so that we can support the medical throughout the world. If we brought our medical prices down to what people pay in other countries, and then instead of sending all of our money to other countries, it would be something that would be manageable, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be free, but it could be something as close to socialism as you can by, doctor visits being $50, specialists being $100, and then medication. In my video, I used an example where we went to Turkey for a year, and when we got over there, we had forgotten my son's inhaler, and we went to one of the pharmacies over there, and I was expecting to pay almost $200 for it, which is what I pay here, and it was the equivalent of 12 cents.
Wow, from $200 to 12 cents.
Right. So we bought a dozen of them while we were there. But
it's the same manufacturer.
Medication.
Same manufacturer, right? Right?
Oh, yeah, I think exactly the same. The reason we pay so much for medicine here is because we are essentially paying the copay for other countries. That's actually in the manifesto for the big pharmaceutical companies. It can be looked up and seen in those direct words that we pay the excessive amounts for medication so that we can allow other countries to not have to pay as much.
So basically, we're paying for the research and development of these drugs, and then everybody gets a smooch off of us for all the R&D we paid for, and everybody gets the drugs for a lot cheaper.
Right. we not only pay the research and development, but we pay a massive portion of the total overhead for all of the other countries.
That's insane. No, yeah. I got a huge problem with that. I'm sorry. I don't believe in socialism. Like, what is it? From each according to his ability to each according to his needs. I mean, basically, if you're more able and you make more money, then they take from you. And if you're needy and you're not as industrious, you don't work as hard, well, then you should get more. Well, that's ass backwards. And that's why it never works. And that's why you require centralized planning and strong guys at the top who are easily corruptible. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Said a long time ago.
Right.
And there you are. Venezuela.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah, well, see, one thing was my father was a physician, and he, after medical school, he could have gone out there and made $1 million a year, but in his heart, he always felt like, how can I possibly charge somebody? It's either your money or your life. So he couldn't bring himself to do that. So he joined the Navy so that he could offer medical treatment and stuff, but not have to make people make those difficult choices. And we don't have to go socialist on medicine per se, but we could do a program. I mean, it would start with we would have to stop sending trillions of dollars to every country in the world so that they can have a better life. They need to start taking care of themselves. And if we use that money that goes overseas to take care of the American people, plus bringing the medical down to a just even a halfway decent level, it doesn't have to be that high. You don't have to pay $50 for 2 Tylenol in an emergency room. There's no justification for that.
No, I mean that's absurd. I mean, stuff you buy over the counter, you buy a whole bottle for like $6, and you're being charged how much? And it's not like they don't have it right downstairs. I mean, it's right there. It's not like they have to go out for it,
Yeah, I mean, it could start with just bringing the prices down to a reasonable level, and then, if you have the money to pay your medical, nobody should be ripped off. But I mean, if it's reasonably priced and you have the money for it, then you pay it. If you don't have the money, then you pay a percentage, and then, there's just, I haven't got all the answers, but I'm sure there's a way that it could be supplemented so that the people that are really trying could actually afford to live too.
Well, no, I mean the prices just need to come down for everybody. But I mean, because you don't want to start down that road where it's like, well, again, this is socialism, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. Again, that's asked backwards. So you say, well, I'm needy, so I shouldn't have to pay as much as that guy. It's like, maybe because I make more money than my next door neighbor, when I mail a letter, I should put 2 stamps on it instead of 1. Well, no, that's not right. Tough shit. My neighbor should go get a better job. I don't care. I don't know. Do something. But don't make me pay 2 stamps when you only have to pay for 1. So the same thing. I mean, maybe you're needy. Well, I don't know. I mean, if we start in a system where we start saying if you're needy, you pay less than the guy who's not so needy, like do a means test. Well, means testing, oh man. I mean, you are heading right down that slippery slope. I mean, you're falling off a cliff.
It's a hands-up situation. You just kind of throw your hands up and you kind of go, what the hell? But I think the bottom line is it starts with getting the prices down to a human level. I mean, that's the start. Because medical stuff is way overpriced.
Well, no. Look, it's really simple. It's really simple. What? Okay. Every customer around the world is treated the same. We all pay for the R&D. We all pay for the overhead. Okay. And then, sorry. I mean, everybody has to feel some pain, and we'll feel a lot less. Like you said, you thought you were expected to pay $200, and you're paying 12 cents. Well, tough shit on the people in Turkey. So maybe instead of us paying $200 and some guy paying 12 cents, maybe we all pay $75 or $50 or whatever the hell it is. But that's how that's the way it should be. So the price comes down for everybody. We should all be treated equally.
Right.
It's not like if anything, if they're made here, which they are, most of them, then the cost of distribution for keeping it within this country is much less than, say, sending it overseas on a big boat. So, if anything, it should be cheaper here.
Well, here's another example. There's a medication that my mother has to take at 77 years old. You have to go on medication, but she's taking one that was produced in India, and when she was getting it, I guess somehow she was getting it through an Indian distributor. She was paying $4 for it, and then somehow there was a recall or something, so she had to go to another company, and it became $40. So, that's just another example. If you can get the medication from a foreign country, and it's the same medication, you pay a fraction of the price for it.
No, the whole point is everybody around the world should be paying the same as everybody. In other words, it shouldn't be people in a foreign country get a discount. Tough shit. Okay, like I guarantee you, when I go to Mexico, when I used to go to Mexico and buy cigarettes, they weren't really that much cheaper. I mean, there were taxes. The only makes them more expensive here are the taxes we put on them, but that's it. They're pretty much about the same price. So, okay, we're paying. We should have to pay for everybody's research and development. Everybody should all pay for that. That cost should be split among all the consumers. And so no, it's that you don't want to keep saying the system in place is okay where people in foreign countries pay less. No, we all pay the same, and I guarantee you, instead of paying $200, you may be paying like $75 or $50. But so would everybody else. If they can't afford it, they die. That's how it works. Okay, right. If you're in a poor country, make your country less poor. Okay, make it a free market economy. India is doing that right now. They got tired of being poor. They said, we don't want to be poor anymore. So what do they do? They started industrializing. They started building. They started building a middle class. They're kind of trying to ease away from this whole caste system, which held them back. So they're pushing forward, and they're creating a lot of carbon emissions. They're like tough shit. We're tired of being poor. Where most people don't even have a toilet in the house. So that's how you do it. You make your country less poor.
The only other thing to consider is that, for one thing, in the United States, everything is overpriced. So our cost of living is excessive. But
then move.
Other countries,
you move. You can move somewhere else. The cost of living will be less.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is the other countries, the only thing is you have to look at their income to cost of living ratio when you're figuring out the cost of medication, because that's the
No, we don't. We don't have to look at that. We can say, look, we have this drug, and it's really, really good. Now, it costs $50 for everybody. Oh, you can't afford it? Well, don't buy it. Die. Oh, well, you better fix your country then. You don't want to fix your country? You want a handout? Tough shit. Get away. That's how it works. So the hell with their cost of living. I don't care. How'd it get that way? Did we do it? No. They did it. They did it to themselves. You want to live by idealism and say, oh, we can all live, in the woods and spin our own cotton and kind of wander around aimlessly all day? No. I mean, Americans, we have to get up and go to work in the morning. I was at court before 8 o'clock. Been at court before 8 o'clock every day this week. Hey, tough shit. I'd like to sleep in, hang out. I don't. So, I'm sorry. Some guy in some foreign country wants to sleep in, walk around, and hang out. Then he don't get the medicine. Then he can die. There you go. Done.
Yeah.
And if you're in this country, get off your ass.
That's where we need to start then.
Exactly. I guarantee you, if with all these medications and they can't afford them, they're going to start doing some things to make sure they can.
Right. So we need to equalize the pay on medication, and we need to stop giving all of our money away to countries Well, shit, half that money comes back to the Democrats anyway. So, you know, it's that racketeering program.
If you say there's a country we want to help, there's nothing wrong with some generosity. Okay, that's okay. Just don't get carried away with it. You know, I mean, we're generous people. We like helping people. Okay, but you know, we don't cut our nose off. You know, spite our face or just slit our own throats because you know we're paying $200 for a pill that some guy in Turkey is paying 12 cents for. Well, that's not equitable at all. That sucks.
No. Yep, wholeheartedly.
I mean, what makes them so special? I mean, nothing. You know, they used to be part of the Ottoman Empire. That was a disaster. You know? So.
Yeah. That's, I learned a lot about the Turkish history while I was there, and there was one man that apparently his name was Kamil Ataturk, and he was the creator of a democratic republic. But now that they've gotten Erdogan in there, we had to leave.
Hello? Well, we had a disabled vet on. Looks like we lost him. So, hey, where'd you go? Anyway, I didn't hang up on him. He just kind of vanished. Oh, well. But that was a really great phone call, and that was the great disabled vet. He appeared, he was on our call-in show last Saturday. We were talking about some really good stuff, and always enjoy talking to him. I talked to him off camera, off air Saturday as well. Had a really nice conversation with him. Really nice guy. Really super nice guy. Yeah, you fell out. Yeah. See American Joe. Hey, American Joe. How you doing? Give you a shout out here. Hold on. Hey. American Joe. All right. And our call-in number is area code 775-273-8970. If you want to appear by vMix video call, send an email to ca2jogger@gmail.com. You send me an email, I reply to your email with a link, you hit said link, you type in username, and you hit join call, and you're in. It's really that simple. And you can ask anybody who's appeared on our panels and stuff. It's a really simple process. Not scary. You're not going to mess it up. You're not going to break it. It's impossible. You come on, I take care of all the rest. Pretty much, other than you hitting your username and typing your username in and hitting join call, everything else is done on this end. And you come on, you appear side by side, have a good little phone call, conversation. You get to appear, I will show you. You can either appear like in one of these boxes. I'll show you right now. You can appear like in a box like this. You can appear in a box like this. You can appear in a box like this. Or you can even appear in a box like this. Ta-da! 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 And that's us, side by side. So, you can do all that. But yeah, so I like kind of goofing off with this stuff once in a while. But it's actually a really good program, actually. So it's really good. But yeah, you can appear by vMix video call or you can call in 775-273-8970. But all right, let me get let me get a story up here. Let's see where'd it go? There we go. All right, hold on. Let me go find this one. Along the lines of immigration, let's pull this one up here. Okay. Boom. All right, DOJ. Here we go. DOJ to resist House subpoena on Census citizenship controversy. There's a bunch of, looks like wannabe citizens standing there in front of the Supreme Court. So let's take a look. Justice Department said Wednesday it will thwart a subpoena for one of its top officials to testify about the citizenship census question, saying House Democrats are trying to undermine the executive branch powers. The House Oversight Committee has already interviewed John Gore, a key figure in the citizenship question saga. But Chairman Elijah Cummings says he wants answers to questions Mr. Gore wouldn't respond to in the previous go-around. He issued a subpoena compelling Mr. Gore to appear Thursday in order that he leave behind all Justice Department lawyers. Wow. You can actually order somebody to appear without an attorney. That's pretty amazing. It's the problem with the Democrats. They just don't know. They just don't seem to get it. Anyway. Let's see. There's a no-go. That's a no-go, said Attorney General William Barr, who says the department lawyer is there to protect the executive branch's interests under the constitutional separation of powers. We are disappointed that the committee remains unwilling to permit department counsel to represent the interests of the executive branch in the deposition of a senior department official, Assistant Attorney General Stephen Boyd wrote to Mr. Cummings Wednesday. Accordingly, Attorney General Barr's determination that Mr. Gore will not appear at the committee's deposition unless a department attorney may accompany him remains in effect. The fight over this subpoena comes as President Trump has signaled frustration with House Democrats' extensive demands for information and his announcement that he will be fighting all the subpoenas. Good for him. Mr. Cummings, Maryland Democrat, connected Mr. Barr's refusal to Mr. Trump's defiant stance. Both President Trump and Attorney General Barr are now openly ordering federal employees to ignore congressional subpoenas and simply not show up without any assertion of a valid legal privilege, the congressman said. He said his committee investigators will show up Thursday expecting to hear from Mr. Gore, and he warned the Justice Department official to think very carefully before hitching his wagon to Mr. Trump's legal blockade. Mr. Gore, acting head of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, was at the center of the Trump administration move to add a question about citizenship to the 2020 census. You know, the funny thing about that is Holder got held actually in contempt of Congress. Eric Holder, former Attorney General under Barack Obama, got held in contempt of Congress for failing to show up regarding that whole, I don't know what it's called, that guns for Mexico border stuff, whatever it was called, where they gave guns to the cartel, and actually one of the guns they gave to him actually was used to kill a Border Patrol agent. But anyway, he got held in contempt of Congress and for refusing to show up to a valid subpoena. Well, guess who's in charge of prosecuting somebody if they're in contempt of Congress? The Attorney General's office. So if Mr. Barr says, we ain't going, and Congress says, we'll hold you in contempt, well, Congress has to go through the Attorney General's office for prosecution. And Mr. Barr's not going to prosecute himself or anybody else in his department for not going. Well, I mean, Cummings is stupid. Oh, don't bring an attorney. Really? Everybody that showed up with an attorney. Everybody in the Obama administration showed up with an attorney. All these FBI guys, Strzok and all those guys, showed up with Department of Justice attorneys. Okay, FBI showed with, not their private attorneys, Department of Justice attorneys. Okay, here. Armed with that response, Mr. Ross did not add the question in. That has sparked a massive legal battle which reached the Supreme Court on Tuesday, where justices heard oral argument from the state of New York, immigrant rights activists, and the Democrat-led U.S. House of Representatives for why the question should be banned. The court's majority, though, seemed inclined to leave the question in place, with several conservative-leaning justices saying the Secretary's decision-making could be justified. Mr. Gore already sat for several hours of questions from the Oversight Committee staff on March 7th, but would not answer what the Justice Department labeled confidential executive branch deliberations that are protected under well-established law. Yeah, it's called executive privilege. Mr. Boyd said there is no legitimate legislative interest in barring the department's lawyer from being present to assert the administration's rights. The Census Bureau asked about citizenship on the full census questionnaire up through 1950, then pushed the question along with myriad other demographic inquiries into the so-called long form, which went to a smaller sampling. For the past 2 decades, it has been part of the American Community Survey, a different census survey that also goes to only a sample. Trump administration says it's important to ask all households the question. Opponents question the motives for restoring the question and say it could frighten some people into not answering the census. Oh, yeah, okay. At Tuesday's Supreme Court argument, several justices had wondered why Congress, if it disapproved of the question, didn't pass legislation stopping it. Exactly. A lawyer for the Democrat-controlled House said they are still trying to get answers from the administration before taking legislative action. They don't need any answers before they take legislative action. They just don't want to vote on it. They'd rather just bitch and moan at the Trump administration. What answers do they want? What if the guy comes up and says, yeah, we did it because we want to know how many illegal aliens were here? Okay, well, that's why they're doing it. So just vote on what you're going to vote on. Thank you. So, oh well. All right. Well, anyway, we've been on for an hour here, and we had one call in. Thank you, Disabled Vets Perspective. And so what I'm probably going to do is going to call it a night for tonight. I didn't want to get back on. I've been rather busy this last week. I haven't done a call-in show or panel show since Saturday, but I do definitely want to get on tonight. So I want to thank everybody who's been on the in the chat, and everybody will be viewing us later. Just I want to say thank you to everybody. Here, let me just go and cut back over here. There we go. Get me off of here. Boom. There we are. Yeah. Watch your ears. You get a little thing. But anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been in the chat. Thanks to everybody who's been viewing. Like the video, hit the like button, of course. If you like it a lot, subscribe. And to all those who will be viewing later, thank you so much. And everybody have a great night, and I'll talk to you later. See you guys next time. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.